Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of CSPN, your stat show for all things Cheese League baseball. And boy, things are really, wrapping up here in the season. We're looking at games 101 through 110, and some interesting things have happened here in the standings. So let's get right to it. Cheddar Division, Grazers and Steamrollers are now tied at the top of the Cheddar Division. So Grazers, past couple games, they were over the past 10 games, they played twice and they won both times. They won big over the Olympians, 13-7, game number 110. They also won 3-2 over the Whalers, kind of a tough little outing there. But yeah, the Grazers are now tied with the Steamrollers. So yeah, we'll see how that plays out in the next week or so, over the next 10 games, especially as we end the season here. In the past 10 games, also the Steamrollers. Let's see, the Rollers have only played once, and they actually lost. They lost against the Marauders, 3-1 game, I believe it was. So between the Grazers and the Rollers, they both have 2 games left to play in the season. So we'll see what happens there. Rampage are nipping at their heels, though. They're 11-10, and the Rampage over the past 10 games, let's see, they won game 108 against the Colonels. And I think that's all they actually played. They just played once, but they won over the Colonels. 4-1 over the Colonels, game number 108. So yeah, they're still right there nipping at the Rollers and the Grazers' heels. Colonels, they went 1-2 over the last 3 games that they played. So they sit 1.5 games back, and then the Strongmen, unfortunately, at 7-14, you see they're 4.5 games back in the division. And they did win. They did get a win over the Colonels, though. So that only helps the Rampage, Rollers, and Grazers' chances. But yeah, rough season here for the Strongmen. Hang in there, Strongmen fans. The offseason, who knows what will happen? Who knows what players they may pick up in the market? And we'll see how all of that works out. In the Pepperjack division, a couple interesting things have happened here, too. Marauders atop the Pepperjack division and a full game lead over the Olympians. So the Marauders went 2-1 over the past 10 games. They played 3 times, obviously. And the Olympians went 1-2 in 3 games that they played. So the Olympians have actually struggled in their past, past 4, I'm just looking at my notes, 4 or 5 games. They've went 1-4 in their past 5 games. So Olympians are struggling a little bit. So we'll see what happens here in this Pepperjack division. It's pretty darn interesting. Between the Marauders and the Olympians, they each have 2 games to play. So we'll see what happens there. Feud and Fouls are nipping at everyone's heels there too. They're kind of right in it. They have 2 games left to play. Fouls went 1-1 the last 2 games that they played. So they're still kind of right in it. We'll have to see. If it really comes down to it, if the teams are tied in any way, shape, or form, like second place team, run differential will come into it. So Olympians beat the feud and Fouls there. So we'll have to see how that plays out. The Warblers sit 3.5 games back, and then the Whalers, unfortunately, like the Strongmen, 6 games back. So it's kind of tough. A little more lopsided of a division here, Pepperjack division. Cheddar division's pretty evenly stacked, I would say. Even with the Strongmen in there, I think it's pretty evenly matched up. So let's see what happens. Colonels only have 1. Well, actually, the Rampage have 3 games left to play. So do the Strongmen. Colonels have 1 game left, and the Whalers have 2 games left, and then the Warblers only have 1 game left to play. So not a lot of things can move around. I would say more so here in the Cheddar division, but we'll see how things play out. Let's take a look here at your league leaders. in terms of batting average, Raina McLongthorpe has been overthrown by Tony Austin. She'd been at the top of the batting average for quite some time. So Tony Austin, now the top spot there. McLongthorpe, of course. Miles Pruitt there up top as well. And 419 for the Rampage. So Rampage, a couple Rampage up there as well. Kyan Baker, Joy Trickster, Aldo Davis, a lot of familiar names. Barneswell there for the Warblers gets the nod. Home runs, we have Kellen Moran and Ralph Briggs tied at 7 for the home run champ lead. So let's see what happens over the next 10 games. See who can finally who can become the home run champ for the Cheese League. Runs batted in, Tony Austin, 24. He had a big game though against the Grazers, or I mean against the Olympians. Game 110, and I think he may have had 2 home runs in that game. Now I'm thinking about it, but and 6 RBIs. I think some ridiculous, some like disgusting number. So yeah, he really jumped up there too. Banjo Crane there for the Steamrollers, and the top for the RBI leaders. And also see Jeffries and actually a bunch of Colonels up there as well. So that's pretty good to see. In terms of on-base percentage, Aldo Davis leads it for the Colonels, and actually he leads slugging percentage too, so look at that. Annika Proctor's up there as well. So that's pretty cool. Annika Proctor's a pretty darn good first baseman there for the Steamrollers. I'll see Raina McLongthorpe, of course, up there. And a smattering of Olympians and Rampage as well. Slugging percentage, Davis and Austin and Pruitt. A lot of familiar names here, folks. Pretty darn interesting. In terms of hits, Tony Austin leads with 31 hits. You know, he's going to be a real contender for just taking the whole batting championship. You know, taking the whole thing. So, let's see what happens. Moran up there as well, tied with McLongthorpe, 29 hits. In terms of extra base hits, 12. Is the magic number here. Miles Pruitt, Vincente Jeffries, Aldo Davis, and Lesser and Berg, and Torres and Austin. Gentry also in double digits. Strikeouts, of course, is definitely not where you want to be, but Julian Park still leads in strikeouts there for the Marauders. Blake Ortiz and Briggs and Gangnam all tied at 15. It's funny, Briggs there with the 15 strikeouts, and he's also one of the leaders in home runs, so kind of has a has like a oh my god, what's his name, Giancarlo Stanton. Like every time he's up, he either hits a home run or strikes out. So interesting. Final batting area here in terms of runs scored. Lester at the top. Parafouls actually are at the top 3. Lester and Moran. Joy Trickster up there as well, and Nico Hendricks. 15 stolen bases. That's the one bright spot here of the strongmen, folks. They like to run, and they're pretty darn good at it. Langston Ali, darn good player for the strongmen. I don't mean to make fun of the strongmen at all, or the Whalers, teams in the basements of their division, but they just have rough seasons. But Langston Ali is an exceptional player. Class Burnswell, good player for them as well. He's also up there in stolen bases. McLongthorpe, though, look at McLongthorpe with 11 stolen bags. So that's pretty good. Even Ralph Briggs with 6 stolen bases. He can he can hit homers, he can steal bags, and he can strike out. He's a 3-tool player. And Serenity Hill down, caught stealing a bunch. And a bunch of other folks caught stealing too. Take a look here at pitching. Finley Oldham leads the league here with 5 wins. Dainty Simon still somehow hanging on with 4 wins. I think he's had 4 wins since like the 3rd week of the season. It's pretty funny. Harmony Saker though for the Colonels, somebody to watch out for. She's a darn good pitcher. You see a lot of other folks there with 3 wins. Oldham, of course, leads in ERA, 1.36. It's a pretty filthy ERA. Gordon there, Marauders. We see Osborne from the Grazers. I'm trying to think, did Kenley Osborne pitch lately? She did. Kenley Osborne pitching game number 106. I think she actually got the win there too. So, pretty good ERAs there from those folks. In terms of saves, we're looking at Brennan Dickerson from the Marauders. He's an exceptional closer. Marcos Graham too, good closer there for the Rampage. I think he got the close the other day when I think it was game 108. I think he got the save against the Colonels, I do believe. Take a look at the other pitching areas in terms of whip. Oldham, of course, is up there. Brock Farley up there as well. Bud Benetti. There's some more of those steamrollers. Bud Benetti also leads opponent batting average. And Raymundo Gordon leads the league in strikeouts. But Osborne and Farley are there. And I'm looking here. Clarissa Newman, Lenny Downhill. You know, those Whalers pitchers are pretty good. Don't get enough credit, I guess. Maybe I don't give them enough credit. Here's some more pitching stats. Strikeouts per 9, walks per 9, strikeout to walk ratios. A lot of statty kind of stuff. You guys can check it out later, pause the video, get into the weeds with that. But now we're going to start looking at our stats, team stats. Going to dive into that a little bit, give you guys a heads up where your favorite players might be. We're going to start with the strongmen here. And of course, we talked about Langston Ali. He's the bright spot in 359. Definitely a bright spot for them. And he's definitely one of your more solid players. You know, they have 3 games left. Let's see if they can make a run for something. They got a big mountain to climb, but you know, have a good end of your season. It'd be great to see some more of these players stepping up, especially like Tucker Bauer, Casey View. Some of these players really step it up a little bit more would be fantastic. Really relying on your good players like Ogle Corker and Langston Ali and Serenity Hilldown, who's a damn good player too, to really carry the team. So let's see some folks stepping it up a little bit more. Interesting, Lynch here is we haven't even seen Lynch off the bench yet, which is pretty interesting. So that's a pretty interesting fact here. In terms of pitching, we got Cynthia O'Donnell, Drill Woolmate. You know, a bunch of their pitching has been really tough for them. You see a lot of inflated ERAs here for their a lot of inflated ERAs for their starting rotation, with the exception of Wedge Gallegos, who doesn't even have a win yet this year. Their bullpen's been hit really hard, so that's something that we'll have to keep in. Something they're gonna have to prove upon over the offseason. All right, taking a look at the next team. Let's check out the Warblers. As Cooper the mascot for the Cheese League hears a firework and gets freaked out. Warblers, you know, they only have 1 game left. We've seen them quite a bit. Over the past couple of weeks, we've seen them quite a bit. And they're another team, they're kind of like the strongmen, you know, a couple players really carrying the team. We got Barneswell carrying the team. And Barneswell cannot be the only player. Barneswell is the only player hitting above 300. That's fascinating. Kenna Watson's at 288. Got Judy Charles at 253 and Barry Yang at 255. Rip Lynn at 256. Oh, there's 278 Bull Holloway too. But wow. Bertram Fields at 333. He comes off the bench a lot though. But that is really interesting. I didn't even realize that. Wow. Barneswell's kind of carrying that team. That's fascinating. But it's another one of those situations where you got one player carrying the team, and it's kind of been like that all year for them. You know, ERA is kind of mid-range for them. So we'll see. We'll see where they end up. Depends really with the Warblers. Really kind of depends where the Fowls line up. How the Fowls do their last 2 games, how they do their last game. Who is going to be 3rd place in the Pepperjack division. So we'll have to see there. You know, good pitching from Hammond. He's been kind of more their solid starters. And Harrington hasn't really had a lot of chances, a lot of save opportunities. So might need to pick up some pitching here in the offseason. We're checking out the Whalers now. Whalers. They're another team that has really struggled this season. So, another team too where you can't find a lot of players hitting above 300. I mean, we got Cade Durham there, 333. And Ralph Briggs, among the league leaders in home runs. He's tied 262. I mean, he still has a ton of strikeouts and stuff. And, you know, those are some of the bright spots. We have Serm White, 246. There's Jose Sicily. He's probably one of the better catchers in the league, 313. But other than that, Josu Rounds gets a lot of playing time, 278. So, yeah, other than that, you know, not a lot of offense and production here for the Whalers. But they do have some pretty darn good pitching. Lenny Downhill's a solid pitcher. Clarissa Newman, solid pitcher. Good strikeout pitchers too. So, and you know, you get the power slide in their bullpen. Even I would even say, you know, Benitez and Bangett have been kind of knocked around quite a bit, but they have a promising team here. They have good structure, and it'll be interesting to see what they can put together next season. For the Feudon Fowls, they have 2 games left in their schedule, and they've worked their way up. I think it's thanks to some of the losses in the Warblers side, but they've worked their way up to the 3rd place in the Pepperjack division, which is, as we've seen, kind of a lopsided division. So to be middle of the road there, it's pretty darn good. They are a pretty good team too. They got Kellen Moran, they got Marcos Lester, they have Edwin Wallace coming off the bench, which is pretty good. You got Mello McForsham here, Oliver Hanna. You know, they got a pretty darn good structure here in terms of offense. Where they've really struggled, I would say, is pitching and starting pitching. Woodland Brand, their ace, 0-4, 8.76 ERA. In the 8s here for Bud Rice. You know, once you get to Lawson, it gets a little bit better, but then you go down to Gunnar Sardee, and even Muhammad Humphrey's been knocked around quite a bit. Melton is a real bright spot for them in their bullpen. So I would say Fowls starting pitching has kind of been their Achilles heel. Like I said, who knows what will happen? Maybe the Olympians will lose their last 2 games. Maybe the Marauders will lose their last 2 games, and the Fowls will win their last 2. So who knows what that'll look like, or where things will line up. Looking at the Grazers now, and again, the Grazers, their past 3 games, past 2 games, I'm sorry, they were 2-0. But they won big though. They won big over the Whalers. They won exceptionally big, 13-7 over the Olympians, game number 110. So up and down this lineup, it's just a sick, disgusting lineup, folks. I mean, 347, Justice Bird, yellow, got Tony Austin thrown in there. You know, now the leader in average. You just have Esperanza and Torres and Sparks, just disgusting, absolutely disgusting. Rasmussen, a great hitting catcher too. And look at, we didn't even see Finley Ballard. Yeah, that's funny. But yeah, just disgusting lineup. It's such a tough lineup. And then their starting pitching here, you know, Kenley Osborne's pretty darn good. Robertson got taken out quite early, I would say, in the game 110 against the Olympians. Raymond has really struggled. Bowen Dixon has struggled a bit. Houndstooth has been really good for them. Got knocked around a little bit in the Olympians game. But yeah, just they got a pretty good core of offense and of pitching. So they have how many games did I say? They have 2 games left too. So between them and the Rollers, we'll have to see really what happens in that really crowded Cheddar division. Corbin Fry here are the Colonels, bright spot. Nico Hendricks, of course. Aldo Davis is one of their better hitters. And you also have Vicente Jeffries, who's a good hitter for them too. So, Colonels, they only have 1 game left. I was looking at something else. They have 1 game left, so they're sitting in 4th place though. Depends what happens here, between the Rampage, because everything's so tight in the Cheddar division. Depends what happens with the Rampage, the Rollers, the Grazers. Who knows where things are going to end up. That's where the run differential comes in and everything. But Harmony Sacred has been a great pitcher for them, despite the inflated ERA. Just not a lot of run support, surprisingly, for her, I would say. Finn Burdock's been pretty solid. I mean, even look, Jaime Woods, Logan, they got a pretty good starting rotation here. Bullpen's a little shaky, but we can get over that. So Colonels only have 1 game left. Sorry, Colonels fans. But it's a big game. If you're a Colonels fan and you're like, oh, only 1 game left, that sucks, this and that. Pay attention. Pay attention to the Grazers. Pay attention to the Rollers. Pay attention to the Rampage games. Watch those games. See what's happening. Anything can happen in that Cheddar division. Taking a look here at the Marauders now. Of course, Raina McLaughlin just right up top. Just exceptional hitter all season long. Joaquin Buck's been good. Quinto's been good. I mean, this is just a murderous lineup, too. It's kind of like the Grazers. The Grazers lineup's just filthy. This lineup's filthy as well. Like more production out of Fuller and Park. Park leads the league in strikeouts, of course. And even Pepperoni's at second base, but just a filthy lineup up and down. And they've been helped all season, really, by their pitching. You got Brock Farley up there, Flavio Yoffs, Raymundo Gordon, Grayson Watts fills in. Good pitching, lower ERAs there for those folks. So good stuff coming out of the top of the rotation, which again, bullpen, Von Crum used quite a bit and hit around quite a bit. But Dickerson's been a pretty solid closer for them too. So they have 2 games left. I'll give you guys a preview of what the rest of the schedule is going to look like, so we can actually see who these games will be against. As we look at the Olympians, who also have 2 games left. Difference with the Olympians and the Marauders, I would say. The Olympians have fallen quite a bit. They've just really struggled. Their past 5 games that they've played in their schedule, I said 1-4. So I think their downfall has been. You see, their lineup is pretty solid. A lot of guys hitting, guys and gals hitting pretty well. Some folks have dropped off a little bit. I'd say Neil Shaw's dropped off a little bit and stuff, but they've not been helped a lot by their pitching. Despite Finley Oldham, who's obviously been exceptional throughout the whole season. Fuentes has been rough. She got roughed up the last game with the Grazers. Bobbert has been rough all season. McClary's been kind of hit or miss. So Bugles has been absolutely roughed up. He actually got the loss in a game, I believe, against the Grazers the other day. So yeah, some of their starting pitching has just been, it's been tough for them. And I think that's been their downfall their past 5 games. Because they have the offense, They scored 7 runs against the Grazers. They won 3-0 over the over the Fowls in game 105. Let's see. They scored 4 runs against the Fowls. They lost 7-4 in game 102. But just looking at other things, I just think it's been their pitching. They score runs, but pitching wins ball games, folks. That's really what it comes down to. Last 2 teams here, 2 important teams to check out. Rampage. Again, another solid team all season. They have 3 3 games left, so they have the potential to make the most impact in the Cheddar division over these next 3 games. And they have a pretty darn good lineup too. A lot of folks hitting 300s. You know, folks like Miles Pruitt hitting 419. Kyan Baker hitting 400. They just, they got a murderous lineup as well. And Freddie and Casey Prowse, some other folks really could step it up. They've been helped a lot by their pitching. Pretty good pitching from Vicente Sims, from Buchanan. I think Buchanan had a good outing other day. Yes, he did. Game 108 against the Colonels. Buchanan had a good outing. And my other notes, the Rampage only actually won once this past time. Jet Check actually had a pretty good outing his last time too. So yeah, Rampage are a tough team. They're kind of battling in there. Mid-range bullpen and starting rotation, backed by some heavy hitters up in their offensive side. So they're battling. They're in it. They're in it to win it. They're a scrappy kind of team. Speaking of scrappy teams, Steamrollers are a team that I think were, honestly, I didn't really put a lot of faith in them at the beginning of the season. They really weren't, they didn't impress me. And look up and down this lineup. Not a lot of people hitting over 300. You got Shepard Pace. You got Annika Proctor, who's been pretty darn solid for them all season. But outside of that, folks, not a lot of people hitting even around 300. A lot of mid 250, 260, around there. 281 Hudson Hopkins. So it's just timely hitting for these folks. Timely hitting and pretty good pitching coming out of, Cardasco Schroeder, Hale, Bud Benetti. Pope Main has been roughed around a little bit, I would say. Their bullpen's pretty good for them. They got their big strikeout pitching team. So, yeah, they're a scrappy team. And I'm actually really surprised that they are where they are. So we'll see what their next 2 games looks like. And let's give everyone a preview of what the schedule is going to look like coming up. So this is what we got, folks. This is what you have to look forward to. Warblers play their last game against the Strongmen. We're going to see a lot of Strongmen games here, actually. Warblers versus Strongmen. Got Rampage and Colonels. That's going to be a big game. Colonels, that's their last game of the season. Rampage have 3 games left. Olympians and Marauders, that's going to be an absolutely crucial game here. Game number 113. Whalers and Fowls. Here's another big game. Another must-see TV kind of game. Must-see YouTube kind of game. Rollers and Grazers. Game 115. So, Marauders and the Olympians play again. And the Grazers and the Rollers play again. Holy cow. Those are some huge games, folks. So the last, let's put that into perspective. The last 2 games for the Marauders and the Olympians, they play against each other. The last 2 games for the Grazers and the Steamrollers, they play against each other. That is bananas how the schedule and how the season has worked out like that. Yeah, those are crucial games. It's going to be interesting to see how things play out. But go back to the standings, show you guys where everything is. And that is it for this episode of CSPN. And I thank you guys so much for watching and for tuning in. Like I said, the next week is going to be interesting. Next 10 games are going to be very interesting. So hope you guys tune in, check it out as we wrap up the regular season and head into the playoffs. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you like it, please do give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to us here on YouTube. Geek Cheese on YouTube for your Cheese League Baseball home. And follow us on Twitter, Geek_Cheese. Lots and lots of good stuff coming up for Cheese League Baseball. All right, folks, take care. Have a good one. Bye.